we have any announcements?
No announcements this evening.
Public to be heard on agenda items only. Okay, we got a few presentations this evening. We're going to start off with House Principal, Mr. Rigner, 12th grade House Principal, to talk about the National Merit Scholarships.
Thank you, Mr. DeBello. Good evening. It's my distinct pleasure to announce recipients from the class of 2020 on numerous National Merit Awards. Tonight, we are recognizing a student who scored in the top 2.5% among Hispanic and Latino PSAT and MSQT test takers in our region. Congratulations to Katie Boja. Katie, come on up. Katie's participation in the National Hispanic Recognition Program enables her to highlight her outstanding educational achievements to top colleges and universities. Springford is very proud of Katie and would like to recognize her and present her with a certificate. We would like to call to the front and recognize the student and her family. Are there any family members for Katie? Come on up, Mom. Katie, you can stay up there too. We're not done with you. All right, now we're going to move on to the National Merit Scholarship Commended Students. This year, Springford Senior High School has 13 students named as commended students in the 2020 National Merit Scholarship Program. This means that these students were among more than 34,000 high performers who scored in the commended student range out of more than 1.5 million students who took the PSATs this past October. Last October, excuse me. They are therefore being recognized for their outstanding performance on the qualifying test used for the program entry. When I announce your name, you can come up for your certificate. Asta Bansal, Katie Boja, Anai Khan, William Marchese, Kevin Malk, Abigail Peterman, Jared Pierce, Rachel Rudkowski, Jenna Tumulty, Victor Wen, Charleston Huntington, not able to join us tonight, and Sean Pham, also is not present tonight. Congratulations. Thank you. And finally, we're going to recognize our National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. Springford Senior High School is pleased to announce that 8 of our senior students have been proclaimed semifinalists in the 2020 National Merit Scholarship Program. What this means is that these 5 students were among the 16,000 highest performers out of more than 1.6 million students in the country who took the 2019 preliminary SATs last October. These high-scoring semifinalists represent less than 1% of high school seniors. That's some pretty rare air. They should be commended for their efforts. At this time, the following students can come up for recognition. Alina Ataher. Harish Bayana. Siddhant Chavan. Deepak Kajarawal. Ryan Pierce. Aryan Singh. Samuel Thomas. Nicholas Tufalero. To continue in the competition and be considered for a monetary award, these semifinalists have to take additional steps and fulfill several requirements to advance to the finalist level. Submit a detailed scholarship application, be endorsed and recommended by a high school official, write an essay, and earn SAT scores that confirm their earlier performance on the PSATs. They'll all be notified in early February if they'd advance to the finalist stage. Monetary scholarship winners will be announced in March. We are very proud of these students. We would like to call to the front, recognize these students and their families who are here with them this evening. Congratulations. Oh, and one more student I want to recognize. She was unable, just contacted me recently that she is unable to attend due to other commitments. Gabriella Curry was also a commended student, so she was one of the 13 that were honored. Thank you very much.
How about one more big round of applause for our National Merit? Okay, it's a big evening this evening. Mr. McDaniel, where you at? There you are.
Well, good evening. And on behalf of the athletic department, we would like to thank Mr. DeBello and the entire school board, Dr. Good and our entire central administration, and to our staff who gives us the support, and to our parents and community for all the support you give us over the years in our athletic realm. Our first team we're going to recognize, who won their 3rd Pioneer Athletic Conference champion, is our girls tennis team. I'm going to ask now that they would pass the mic and you introduce yourself.
Coach Todd Riggin.
Katie Kraus,
Jenna Tumulty,
Sierra Ridings,
Anna Sharkey,
Kelly Zaper,
Olivia Ritter,
Anna Hang.
Lucy Olson.
Brianna Weigelt.
Coach Devin Stano.
Coach Karen Canuso.
Casey Goldstein.
Alyssa Sharma,
Lauren Tang. Riley Burke.
Isabel Mejia.
Bryn Frankhauser,
Akshay Shamsunder.
Ayushi Jain.
Excellent job, ladies. Go ahead. This group of young ladies, under the direction of head coach Todd Reagan and his assistant coaches Devin Stano and Karen Canuso, finished in the Pioneer Athletic Conference schedule 11 wins and 0 losses. And on the match that clinched the Pioneer Athletic Conference championship, they defeated Owen J. Roberts 6-1, and they qualified for the District 1 tournament as a team. So it's pretty exciting when they've won 3 tournaments in the last 2 in a row, and it's pretty exciting what they've accomplished. So on behalf of our athletic department, we thank you, and would you please give these girls a big round of applause. Then we did have some individual champions. So Katie Kraus, would you please step forward? Katie won the Pioneer Athletic Conference Singles Championship, and in the championship match, she won with a 6-4, 3-6, 6-2 score in the championship match. She also qualified for the District 1 Singles. Congratulations, Katie. Isabel Mejia and Riley Burke, please step forward. These 2 young ladies, by the score of 6-3, 6-2, won the Pioneer Athletic Conference Doubles Championship and also qualified for the District 1 tournament. Congratulations, ladies. So we're going to give you one more round of applause, and then you're going to round shake everybody's hand at the table. So again, can we give them all one more big round of applause? Okay, just start. While they're doing that, just to bring you up to speed on a few other things, this past Friday evening, our football team defeated Pope John Paul 38-21 in the Pioneer Athletic Conference Championship game. So we will be recognizing them in the month of November. They will open up district play this Friday night here at Springford at 7 p.m. against Haverford. Our girls' soccer team will travel to Unionville for their game tomorrow at 5 p.m. It's a playback game in the districts. Winner goes to the state tournament. So we want to wish our girls' soccer a lot of luck tomorrow. And also, we have one cross-country runner advanced to states, and it is Mr. Fink's son, Alex Fink. Our chief financial officer's son, Alex advanced to the state tournament. He will run on Saturday at the Parkview Cross in Hershey, right beside the Giants Center at 1:15 p.m. So we want to wish Alex a lot of luck. So a couple things I will say. On the football game, the admission for a district game is $5 adults, $5 students. There are no passes. Girls soccer, same thing at Unionville, $5. And at the state tournament, or the state cross-country meet, there's no admission charge, but if you want to park in the Giant parking lot, it costs $10. So would our golf team please come forward? You have to turn it on. It's just the way golfers move. At this time, I'd like our girls' golf team to introduce themselves.
Coach John Brennan.
Felicity Thatcher, senior.
Alina Ganta, junior.
Bryn Brazilla, Jr.,
Catherine Bates, junior.
Sophia Harvey, Jr.,
Alexa McPike, sophomore.
Chloe Stoudemire, sophomore, Avery Bell, sophomore,
Kirthana Rajmohan, sophomore.
Audrey Cummings, freshman.
Megan McPoyle, freshman.
Sierra Griffith, freshman. Morgan Kunze, freshman. Nicole Yoon, freshman.
There's a common theme right there. They are young. It's a young team. The girls' team, under the direction and guidance of head coach Mr. John Brennan and assistant coach Mr. Tim Hughes, recorded a record of 9 wins and 1 loss to win the first ever girls golf championship, and was a Pac championship, but the first ever, and that's a great accomplishment from where the program was to where it is now. It's fantastic. They did win the conference in the final match over Boyertown with a 181 to 217 score, which then clinched the championship for them, and obviously the lower score in golf wins. So we had a 181 and Boyertown at 217. So ladies, congratulations, and coaches, congratulations on the first ever girls golf championship here at Springford. Now, to highlight one of those freshmen, Nicole Yoon. Nicole, would you step forward, please? Nicole won the Pioneer Athletic Conference Championship with a round of 82, which also qualified her for the District 1 tournament. Congratulations, Nicole. One more big hand for all the girls. Okay, start. Once again, thank you for all your support from the community and to our administration and staff.
These are always our favorite nights as a board when we're able to recognize our students and their accomplishments. It just shows how diverse we are in the district with academic excellence, extracurricular sports academics, and then we also have, I don't know if anybody's going to report on it, but our band recently won one of the first national championship, and that's probably in your update. Is it in your update? I don't want to steal it from you. All right. Well, they were in the first, they've been in national competitions before, and this one they came in first place in their division, and they came in third place overall, which is amazing from where our music program has been, winning a lot of championships more, what I'll say, at the local level with Cavalcade and that, and then moving into the national level a few years ago and actually getting to the point winning this year in their division, which was a huge accomplishment. And awards and accolades just continue to come in our district for our students. Again, like I said, from an academic standpoint, from a sports standpoint, from a music standpoint, we just have what I feel, well, that's why we are one of the top districts in the state of Pennsylvania. And our students are our main reason for that. Oop. Committee reports, student rep reports.
So this is our October report.
So what happened? In elementary, we had a bunch of book fairs, the school store and spirit days. In the middle school, we had picture day. In the high school, we had Spirit Week, consisting of USA Day, Character Day, Twin Day, and Blue and Gold Day. We had the Powder Puff game, the homecoming parade and game, the homecoming dance, both the underclassmen and upperclassmen, multiple football games, and multiple PAC championships by our football team, our tennis team, our golf team, and band championships.
These are just a few pictures that we wanted to share with you from USA Day.
These are from character / like Twin Day.
And then this is from Blue and Gold Day. And up there in the corner, you can see that me and my friends feel on most spirited this year. So just wanted to add that in to share with you guys.
Here are some pictures from the 9th grade pep rally.
And then those are some pictures from the 10 through 12 pep rally.
Here are some pictures from the Powder Puff, and I would also like to point out that the juniors did beat the seniors this year with a 96 to, I think, 68 it was.
Something very sad.
I mean, I think we did pretty well.
This was the freshman and sophomore homecoming dance.
This was the homecoming parade with our homecoming king and queen in the picture over there.
The junior and senior homecoming dance.
Here's what is going to happen in the month of November. In the elementary, we'll have Halloween festivities coming up, I think Thursday for most of the schools, if not all. Book fairs, Thanksgiving break. In the middle school, we'll have the musical and Thanksgiving break. In high school, the fall play and, again, Thanksgiving break.
Okay, now we would like to introduce a new program called Student of the Quarter.
So the overview. The Student of the Quarter program is a new program that will recognize a student that doesn't typically get recognition for the great things they do for the Springford High School.
So who nominates? The Springford faculty will nominate, and each staff member can only choose one nominee per marking period. They will receive a Google Form sheet to fill out their application for who they want to nominate.
Questions they will consider. Does the student go above and beyond his or her role as a student? Does the student turn in all their work? Has the student been working to their full potential? Is the student a positive role model? Does the student actively participate? Does the student demonstrate leadership? Is the student respectful? And does the student engage in extracurricular activities?
How will they be selected? A committee will review all the applications once they're sent in and decide based on the information given on the student.
Selections. The student of the quarter will get their picture taken that will be hung in a trophy case. They will also receive a certificate and be invited for a ceremony with a breakfast.
Any additional questions? So our goal is to start it for next quarter, so second quarter. Yes.
Who came up with this?
Me with the help of, well, actually, I have to give credit. Nundity did help us. So last year when we decided the student ambassador program, we also came up with this. So then I decided, okay, well, we'll do the student ambassador, and then this year we'll do student of the quarter. So yes, Dr. Nugent, me, and Nundity, and then Ishika helped put everything together.
Well, that's awesome. You guys are doing really great.
Thank
You know, the student ambassador program last year, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Have some more.
Any questions? Policy.
So we met for policy on the 14th. I normally would have given my report last week, but there were also some parades and things of that sort going on, so I'm going to do that this week. We did talk about the administration of the policy. We did recommend suspending discussions about some of the policies related to safety until there's a reorganization and they're discussed and vetted out a little bit more. There seems to be some influence coming from other places. We want to make sure we have our ducks in a row and that everything is in the right place before we we present those policies to the board for consideration. So as I was saying, safety policies pertaining to property and facilities may better reside in a different section, while safety policies involving school police and procedures may also be suited to one area. So we just want to kind of work out those kinks a little bit. So further discussion on all policies except this one will be suspended until we reorg and discuss and get that further structure in place. We did review, the policy did review and make some significant changes to the policy regarding school police incidents, which is 7052. The next steps will be to include sending the policy to the solicitor for review, specifically a greater understanding of the media section. And Mr. Rizzo will search for a policy or protocol that's already in place with respect to talking to the media. So the committee will review that policy again in November after we have that input from the solicitor and from Mr. Rizzo on what other school districts do in that area. Regarding reporting use of force, which is a new policy, the policy reviewed and minor changes were made to this policy. Specifically, the language was adjusted to be consistent with other related policies, and we will review again in November to be sure that that's up to speed. We reviewed another policy related to that briefly and continued the discussion to really make sure everything is streamlined and that one uses the same language in the next so that we're keeping it all very similar. We also moved on to discuss a little bit more about the medical excuse submission process. We did share that there are several nearby districts that already accept digital versions of excuses. That was shared by Mr. Rizzo, so he's going to continue to investigate the possibility of this option here and bring an update back to the committee in November. So, for example, some of the other districts that do go to this online process for the submission of medical excuses would include Boyertown, OJR, Phoenixville, and North Penn. So there are some neighboring districts that already engage in this. We're looking to see if maybe Skyward is a possibility or another format to allow for a digital response or a digital excuse to be submitted. Regarding the awareness of consequences for conflicts with school board activities, and this was something that was brought up late last year, Mr. Rizzo did update the committee on these discussions that have taken place between Dr. Gooden and Mr. McDaniel. And while there may not be a need for a policy, we did express the need to have conflicts with field trips and participation in sports explicitly stated prior to families making decisions to attend those field trips or participate in those sports. So administration is going to work further with Mr. McDaniel to be sure that there's clear language provided, perhaps in the handbook or somewhere in the sports materials that are handed out, and policy. We'll just keep an eye on that. We're open to have a policy, but we're not sure that that's the direction we want to go there yet. We did some other review of policies. We'll be looking at those again in November. They're in the notes. And we also looked through a whole host of policies that Mr. Rizzo did a review on, and a very thorough review in his office. And there is no shortage of reviews that we will be working on as we go through the rest of the year, and I assure you there is no shortage. So, but that was really the summation of what we did in policy. Are there any questions?
I just want to refer you to House Bill 1902 if you haven't reviewed it. It is still, it was actually referred to House Education Committee on October 15th, and it does talk specifically to, excused absences, unexcused absences, differences. So as you're updating that policy and the use of, electronic excuses, you may just want to take a look at that to make sure that what's in the pipeline is caught.
Absolutely, we will take a look at that, and there's nothing that's been decided yet. We're still in a fact-finding stage on that, just to see if that's something that that request was made briefly a couple of times for us to look at it, so we're still doing that, but thank you for that information.
And this bill is still in committee, so it hasn't gotten any traction yet, but I'm just, as a heads up, there is some.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does get some, though, because of the age that we live in.
Yeah, and this does not speak directly to the use of electronic excuses, more kind of the numbers and what you can accept and can't accept in terms of doctor's notes and those kinds of things. So it just may be worth taking a look at.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and move right into community relations. We also had that committee meeting on Monday, October 14th. And there are two pieces here that I'm going to pass around for the board to just take a look at. These are some publications that came out from Erin Crew's office and from Andrew's office. And it's a nice recap of what's going on in both places. They're nicely done. So I don't want to just put them in a file. I want to share them with you so you can take a look at these, see what's happening. And then I'll be happy to tell you that Screenagers, something we had looked at last year, has a new updated version, we could call it. It's called Screenagers Next Chapter. We talked about recommending to move forward with a screening ideally in early 2020, January or February. Erin Crew will work with the principals to secure a date that works for their schedules as well as for student viewing. So I just want to remind everyone, if you have forgotten what Screenagers is, but it is about screen time for teenagers. So, and the impacts of that. We saw a clip from it, and I would say that the information that was included in that clip, and I think Erin, you would agree with us on that, is much more appropriate to, and I think it will touch more people in our district. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope that will be well attended. And also, we won't lose any licensure or money should we have that awful word snow come into play in January or February. We did flesh that out. So thank you for looking into that ahead of time, Erin. Some upcoming events. Erin shared a list of upcoming events, including the Parent Speaker Series. Alice Parent Night took place October 22nd. The Anxiety Discussion was October 23rd. Town Hall was October 24th. Math and Literacy Night is November 4th. And Media Messaging Night, very important, also November 7th. So that was some good information that came out of there. I'll jump over to the RCTV update. Andrew provided an update about some new programs and the current stats. He reported that the YouTube channel has now more than 500 subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber already, please jump on board with that to do that. He has live streamed 14 athletic events so far, and I'm going to guess that might be a little bit higher at this point. Produced 10 spotlight videos, is using a new mobile Wi-Fi system for streaming, and rolled out 2 new shows, Staff Connections and Field Trips, using data and stats from YouTube to streamline the content, and is focusing on more shorter but powerful videos to grab the audience. So that was his update. I'll jump back to out of marketing. Erin Crew shared that the upcoming events noted above, as well as the new and 19 initiatives, include the new faculty staff newsletter called Take 5. The goal of Take 5 is to share district-wide updates, stories, and events, focusing on faculty, staff, curriculum, technology, and more. The publication provides just enough information and to cover in about 5 minutes. Ms. Crew took the time over the summer to make some website changes too, including newly revamped news and media pages. So you might want to check those out when you get onto the website. And what weekly updates are now easier to find online. So she's constantly looking to make that website more accessible and more appealing to our viewers. I think that's happening on both ends, at the website and also at RCTV. So I would encourage everybody to check those out. So Ms. Crew also provided an update on the scoreboard sponsorship program, which we have kicked off. The information has been advertised on the website, and there are a few of us board members I know that have also disseminated that information, tried to get that out. She received some feedback that businesses are starting to look towards their sponsorship or advertising budget for the 2020 calendar, and we're going to circle back with those businesses as we get closer to the end of the year to make sure that we try to get some of them on board and secure that those positions. The In Community magazine was really the last piece that we talked about, and we did get an update on that. That magazine, I have mentioned before, is going to be 4 quarterly publications, 1 in print to every member in the Spring-Ford Foot District, the Footstep, the Spring-Ford School District Footstep. It'll go to every mailbox. The other 3 will be online or digital formats, but those 4 should be going out. They did request an extension on the launch date, looking to push that to the 2020 calendar year, just trying to get their advertising pieces in place. So we discussed that we would like to do an initial print issue in fall 2020 so that we can say, hey, this is what's coming down the line. It's going to be online and available to you the next 3 times online, but this is what's going to be coming out. And, hopefully get people excited about it so that they'll want to look for it online. So that's where we are. Anybody have any questions about community relations? A lot of information covered since we're now doing those bi-monthly meetings.
Well, you covered a lot between seminars, town halls, board meetings, committee meetings, newsletters, all the other articles, huh?
I'm sorry, I threw a lot. I know I
Spotlights.
threw a lot at you.
I know, all that stuff. It's pretty hard to argue that we're not transparent as a district. I don't think there's anything that isn't put out there in some form, one way or the other, through mailings and everything else. I mean,
We really are working as a team and trying to do our best to hit everybody in the district in every different format out there.
the amount of information that's put out there. That was one of the things, within community relations that we want to ensure against, is that we are being extremely transparent to the community. And that you definitely are gone through that list, and so great job.
Thank you. And great job to Erin and to Andrew, because they work very hard together and in their own departments to make sure that this information is all disseminated to everybody.
Okay, Western Center.
The Western Center did not have an October meeting, but I did receive a phone call this afternoon from the director of the center, from Mr. Chris Moritzen, to thank me for the 8 years that I've served on the Western Center Joint Operating Committee, and also inform me that he was heading out to Las Vegas with a group of students and other teachers to the SEMA convention, SEMA standing for Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association, which consists of a convention to exhibit aftermarket auto parts and other accessories associated with the automotive business. And of course, this reinforces the idea that it's good to be king, because he gets to go to these things and the rest of us listen to his report. But to be honest about this, he always brings back something. He always brings back either some donations from the suppliers of the equipment at the meetings, or some information that is beneficial to the Western Center. So it's definitely a worthwhile venture for him to be on. On a more somber note, unfortunately, one of our new members of the Western Center died suddenly on October the 1st. Mr. James Glacken of the Upper Perk School Board and representative to the Joint Operating Committee died suddenly at the age of 47. Our condolences are certainly sent out to his wife, Philomena, his children, Francesca, Carolina, James, and Angelina. And the members of the Joint Operating Committee share the great sense of pain of your loss. And James was a fine person. He was a distinguished teacher in the Roxborough High School with great credentials. And anybody who had the chance to shake his hand will never forget the strength and character that it was exhibited by a handshake from him. And we feel very sad at the loss of this great young man who unfortunately left us at such a terribly young age. That's all I have to report on the Western Center. Now, I guess I have the PSBA liaison. I did not attend the PSBA meeting this year, but I assume that my colleagues, the 3 colleagues, will have things that they could mention about the meeting in Hershey. That would be more important than anything I could contribute. The only thing that I can say is, now that I'm coming to the end of my tenure on the board, I can sort of reminisce about my experiences as a PSBA representative to the Pennsylvania School Board and to the National School Board Association. I can remember when I first got on the board, which was almost 10 years ago actually, there was a movement by some members of the board to stop being members of the PSBA. I don't remember, Mrs. Farron, can you tell me how much money we would have saved by dropping out membership? It was just a matter of hundreds of dollars. As a percentage of our budget, it was minuscule. But it was still supposedly a money-saving issue. But fortunately, I hope with some help from my enthusiasm for having attended the PSBA meetings, the membership continued. And obviously this year, with 3 members of the board attending the PSBA meeting, there seems to be new enthusiasm for participating and seeing what the benefit of associating with other members of school boards is in these statewide meetings. And hopefully it will extend to the National School Board Association meetings, which I found to be tremendously beneficial. So I'm hoping that after I've left the board, this enthusiasm will continue, and that's all I have to say as PSBA representative. And I don't know who's going to take my place, but I'm sure you will have a good representative.
Well, just to comment on, there were 3 of us that went, and we did comment on that last week at the work session. It was Linda Fazzini, Tom DeBow, and myself. Linda was able to go for the whole time. Tom and I were there for Thursday, which was the day that was the most full day. So we were able to attend a number of sessions. And as a follow-up to that, one of the things I wanted to mention tonight was that I got a call from, his name is Rogue, from Siemens, and he's interested in talking to us about some STEM initiatives, doing some co-ops, partnerships, something along. I just got a call from them today about it. So I was hoping to bring it up to Dr. Gooden tonight and reiterate that when we were there last week, we really found Springford to be ahead of the curve, so to speak, in a number of areas in terms of safety, in terms of the STEM initiatives that we do have across the district, and also the social emotional learning piece. So hoping very much so that we'll see Springford presenting at the conference when we all go back next year. So that is going to stick around, that interest. And I thank you for your time that you've been there and that you've brought back the information and encouraged us to go and to learn from the other districts. It's very important to learn from each other. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to learn from each other.
Don't worry, Ed, I used your parking spot they have reserved for you.
Did you see the plaque there too?
Yeah.
I was in the car and I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
I guess.
All right, Legislative Committee.
Legislative Committee met last week. A couple of significant items to report on. One has to do with school security changes. Actually, House Bill 49, which originally passed the House as a bill to provide graduation credit for courses in financial literacy, was further amended by the Senate to clarify that school police officers may exercise the same powers as exercised under the authority of law or ordinance by the police of the municipality in which the school is located. You may recall Act 67, which was signed earlier this year, had removed the school police officer's arrest authority. So this amendment to House Bill 49 is intended to address that. It also does provide for additional time for school police officers, school resource officers, and other security personnel who are required to complete school resource officer training. It does extend that to the beginning of next school year. Part of the issue is that there is only one approved organization to perform the training, and they do need to train nationally. So they train for everybody throughout the country, and now kind of are getting this massive onslaught of Pennsylvania schools who have, school resource officers or police officers who require the training. So this bill is, very favorable, hoping it'll get pushed through. Again, it passed the House, went to the Senate, passed the Senate, and has now been re-referred to the Rules Committee in the House, just for review and make sure that things are kind of in line with what they're looking for. And it was referred to the House Rules Committee today. So there's hope that it will be passed within the next week or so, and then moved on to the governor. Another area, there's an assessment appeals bill, Senate Bill 334. This was actually re-referred to Senate Appropriations today. This actually is of a concern to school districts. What it's doing is greatly restricting the ability of districts to seek appeals of under-assessed properties. It becomes significantly concerning when we're looking at the right to initiate appeals with large commercial properties. So that would be restricted, which in turn then, if we look at a property, a large commercial property, and we don't have the ability to appeal the assessment, that it would actually, the deficiency would then have to be passed on to the residents of the district. So this does become a huge concern because that's an area we don't want. We don't want to have to pass on, for large corporations, a tax deficiency to our residents. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Katie Muth is on the committee for Senate Urban Affairs and Housing. She did vote against it. The sense is that most of the senators within this region, regardless of kind of what side they're on, understand the, kind of how it will hinder the districts and the impact it will have on our residents. But in some of the rural areas or other areas, it's, a different situation. So there's something to keep an eye on, could be coming down the pike. There is a professional development bill in the House Education Committee. It is House Bill 434, requiring PDE to develop and implement continuing professional education course on cultural awareness that may be used by professional educators to satisfy Act 48 requirements. So again, we'll keep an eye on that. The student transcripts, House Bill, again, today is still in committee. It requires each entity to include attained career/technical industry recognized credentials on student transcripts beginning with the 2021 school year. A couple other areas of, and we haven't met in a few months, and so a lot of stuff going on, if you will. There will be cardiac testing. So on October 21st, the Senate Education Committee approved Senate Bill 836 as amended, and it did go to the full Senate. It amends Act 59 of 2012, requiring districts to notify students that as part of kind of this sudden cardiac arrest prevention, students can also have EKGs. There was an amendment just noting that parents would be required to pay for the exam and require doctor's approval to have the test administered. School board elections, and this is House Bill 227, is in the Senate Appropriations Committee, and it just clarifies that all candidates for the office of school director will be required to submit 10 signatures for nomination. Does not really impact us. That's what, within Montgomery County, that's what the requirement has been ongoing. CTE bills, there are two awaiting governor's signature for a wide variety of provisions regarding the career and technical education and workforce development. One component did kind of receive significant pushback. It was Section 128 of the bill, which requires school entities to offer representatives of skilled trades, publicly identified priority occupations, area career and technical schools, community colleges, and military recruiters the opportunity to provide students with information and requires them to offer each of those representatives at least one opportunity during the school year to provide age-appropriate information to all students in grades 4 through 12 regarding educational opportunities, employment training, or career opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It does require that anybody who would come on to school property would require criminal background checks and child abuse clearances, et cetera. There is, while it's not directly impacting education, it is something that has indirect impact on us, which is Senate Bill 473. Again, just want to keep an eye on it. It did pass Senate with a vote of 43-6, and it raises the minimum legal age to purchase tobacco products from 18 to 21 years of age, and it expands the definition of tobacco products to include smokeless tobacco products. So again, this is an area that may impact some of our vaping, Mrs. Zazowski, maybe some of our policies, et cetera, because the age, the change of the age, and may impact the way in which we respond to those students because, again, if they're under the age of 21 and it's illegal. So it's just something we may want to keep an eye on.
We will. Mr. Rizzo is on the policy. I mean, we have a laundry list of policies that we will continue to address and make changes as needed. But thank you.
Two other charter reform continues. State Education Committee held hearing on charter school entities. Most of those who testified were from charters, so it was fairly one-sided at that point. But Governor Wolf does continue to highlight the need for reform from the 22-year-old charter school law. The Academy Charter School is the lowest performing charter school in the state, and they will be closed by the end of this year, as announced by Governor Wolf. So there is definitely a lot of attention and focus on the charter schools and the way in which the operations of the charter schools are impacting the public school districts throughout the state. PDE is still seeking public comment on charter school reform. Anybody wishing to provide data, information, and comment that would be helpful to PDE in preparing proposed rulemaking should forward this information by November 4th to the Office of the Secretary, 333 Market Street, 10th floor, Harrisburg, PA 17126. Sorry, there was a lot, like I said. Cyber charter reform continues. There is House Bill 1879, which was presented by Education Committee Chair Representative Kurt Sonny. Looks like it's going to be hung up in committee for quite some time. We'll continue to keep our eye on it, though. Special ed funding formula commission is expected to have a final report and recommendations by November 30th of this year. So again, another area that we're going to keep a very close eye on as that has significant impact on Spring-Ford's budget. There is also Senate Bill 751 and House Bill 1607. There was a public hearing on these bills today, and it is focused on educator evaluation, really looking at changes to the educator evaluation system. So again, more to come. I don't have any outcomes from today's hearing, so kind of hard to know where this is going to go. A couple other, I think I've got 2 or 3 more quick ones. There is a House Bill 472 would require school districts upon petition of 10% of registered voters of the district to conduct a ballot referendum prior to undertaking any construction. So it's definitely an area that we want to keep a very close eye on. It was referred to State Government Committee in the House in February. So it hasn't moved from committee, but it's definitely something that, again, could impact districts. And again, Mr. DeBello, as you were speaking last week about the potential for significant growth within our district and the need, to expand some of our buildings. If that comes to fruition, this could certainly impact Spring-Ford in the future. So definitely something we want to keep an eye on. Increased access to professional support services. There are a couple bills. One is Senate Bill 850, which is Community Integrated Schools for Success Pilot, a school that is that is designated by the Secretary to participate in the program and is engaged in developing and implementing a community engagement plan to provide engaged student support services. So this would be food, clothing, health, and welfare. So it really looking at a broad range of services, not just within the educational environment, but certainly services beyond the educational environment to support students. So again, it would be a pilot, and that's Senate Bill 850. And there was actually, it's on the Senate Education Committee agenda for tomorrow. And then Senate Bill 530 would require a student who is convicted or adjudicated delinquent of sexual assault to be expelled at the victim's request if they are enrolled in the same K through 12 school district. This is also referred to Senate Education Committee, and it is also on the agenda for tomorrow. That's it.
Sad thing is most of that's going to die in committee.
I have more.
Well, what do you got? I mean, go
those were the highlights.
Yeah, but like I said, most of that stuff will die in committee. You know. Any questions?
Thank you, Christine.
All right. MCIU met last month. We did normal business, but we did have a presentation from the Harrisburg School District. As I mentioned before, MCIU has been charged with managing and oversight of the Harrisburg School District. Few highlights, that was what we found very interesting through the discovery of taking over that school district. One is that the Department of Education actually controlled the Harrisburg School District for several years, and now the IU had to take it over. Keep that in the back of your minds as I go through some of these things that our good old Department of Education was taking care of. So let me go down this list real quick. There were no certificates for some of the employees. There were no clearances. Their budget's about $150 million. There's 6,300 students. They need to do a complete facilities review because most of their buildings are in dire need of many renovations. There's a $20 million debt service over a $200 million debt, so $20 million annual debt service with a $200 million debt. The big issue there is that they're definitely challenging the tax base with that kind of debt on that district and that demographics. Their curriculum is behind by several years. This was actually interesting. There are over 100 people fired over the years that are still getting health care. There are several grievances filed that have been going on for years that haven't been addressed. There's been no accountability with federal programs. $22 million of their district debt, of their budget goes to charter schools. And basically they have 5 elementaries, 3 middle schools, 3 high schools, and 1 tech school. So obviously the presentation went into a lot more detail, but it was quite ridiculous that when you sit there and know that the Department of Education was responsible for managing the Harrisburg School District for several years, and this is the state that it's in. And of course, what I didn't mention, which I'll mention now, is that they didn't perform academically anywhere near, and that's why the IU's there to try to get a hold of the Harrisburg School District and bring it back and make it a high-performing, best as possible high-performing school district in the state. So with that, does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Bill, just to clarify and just, that has no impact on Springford. We don't pay the IAU to perform the services for Harrisburg. I just want to make sure that our community understands that that does not impact Springford at all.
No, the reason why the Montgomery County IU is there managing that is because we have turned Montgomery County IU into one of the best IUs in the state of Pennsylvania, and the state came to actually the IU to take oversight on the Harrisburg School District because of Dr. George being on board and some of the staff and some of the processes and procedures that we put in place. Any costs that the IU has to incur would come from the state.
So once the issues are addressed in that school district, and they seem pretty severe, is then that oversight withdrawn? Is it given back to the board out there, to PDE, or how's that going to be handled or managed with the IU putting their efforts into this going forward? Will they take it back and own it themselves, or will they continue under leadership for a long time? What does that look like?
So they're in the process of putting a lot of infrastructure in place and putting a lot of process and procedures and oversight in place. My understanding is that they're also putting, and Mr. Fitzgerald, you may know, but I think they're also putting a school board in place. So the goal is to get it to self-sustaining, not going back to the Department of Education, but the goal is to make it a self-sustaining district. And I mean, there were a lot of, I don't want to give the actual number, but there were several people that were terminated within the first week.
Well, right now, technically the district is under receivership. Dr. Janet Samuels, who had been the superintendent at Norristown, is the receiver. I would anticipate that she's likely, or a receiver will be in place for the foreseeable future. If there's, the only precedent that is out there is Chester Upland, and they've been in receivership for the better part of a decade. And there's no indication that that's going to be turned back over to local control. So for there to be local control in Harrisburg, I think will take a number of years before that occurs.
But the goal of the IU is to try to get it to a certain point and eventually turn over that
to work
control.
with the receiver
Right.
in order to address the years of issues.
Right. But there was a lot of staff changes, and so there was a lot of things that we did at that the IU headed up to ensure that we start getting it on the right track. Any other questions? Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Bella. Just remind everyone that November 1st will be the end of our first marking period, and that report cards will be available on November 13th. Also, on November 16th, we are planning an open house for the community to show off our high school edition or editions, and we'll be planning that out and communicating that program out to the public at large. That will be, again, November 16th at 11 a.m. here at the high school. And we'll take a look at show the community what we've done here at the high school. Also want to take just a minute to shout out to all of our sports teams and their coaches. I've been to several events, and as always, I'm very proud of the sportsmanship that our students display and the dedication of our coaching staff to our students. So thank you to all involved in those programs. I also want to thank everybody who helped make our recent town hall a success. A lot of work went into that to make sure that came off, and that went off without a hitch, and thank you all to everybody who helped with that. Lastly, just want to go back to recognizing, I think Mr. McDaniel mentioned this, but we do, our girls soccer team is playing tomorrow night in Unionville, and it's a District 1 playback for state qualification. Also, Friday night, our boys team, after beating PJP on Friday, they will be in the first round of the District 1 playoff, and that will be against Haverford, and that will be here. And then lastly, I also want to recognize that we did have one lone cross-country student, Mr. Alex Fink, who was the lone qualifier for the state track or cross-country meet, and that will be this Saturday. So congratulations to Alex, and we wish you the best. And then lastly, on your agenda tonight, we have two resignations that I just want to draw your attention to. One is Deb Devine. She has been with us for approximately 12 years. working out of Limerick Elementary, and so she'll be missed, but she's leaving for the purpose of retirement. And then lastly, Cheryl Heiser, who is the executive secretary over at the high school for Dr. Nugent. She has over 20 years with the district, and she will be sorely missed. And so we wish them the best in their retirement, and thank them for all they did. That's it.
Any questions? There was one other notification I wanted to put out there. Recently, the Springford High School was awarded the National Band Association Program of Excellence Blue Ribbon Award for its Eastern Division. The Program of Excellence is a national award bestowed upon elementary school, middle school, or high school band programs that exhibit quality programs at all levels. As per the National Band Association, these programs and educators which challenge students and promote standards of excellence will be honored nationally through this initiative. Springford High School was the only high school in the Eastern Division, Maine through Maryland, awarded this year. And this is the first from the Eastern Division since 2014 across the nation. 14 programs awarded, 6 were from the state of Texas, 2 from the state of Florida, and 2 from the state of Illinois, and 1 from the state of South Carolina, and 1 from the state of Tennessee, and 1 from Virginia. There's a full list that you could see. There's a website. I'm not going to give the whole website out, but you just do a search on National Band Association and you'll find it. This is the first time that Springford High School was recognized at the national level. In December, the pool of 14 bands was considered for national award, and Seth Jones, who is our band director, will be heading to the ceremony to accept the award on the program's behalf. So I just wanted to get that out. I was looking for it. I had it on my phone. But again, it just shows, I mean, the excellence of our music program, and the kids are, I mean, they're out there practicing tonight. They are, I've said it before, they are the hardest working group within the school district. The amount of time and effort that they put in is it's just amazing. And of course, it shows it. I mean, they win. They nationally place and they get awards like this National Blue Ribbon. So this is just another exciting recognition for the Springford High School. Solicitor's report.
I have no report this evening.
All right. All right. Meeting minutes. Do I have a motion? A through B. Motion second. Any comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Personnel, A through G.
Separate G, please.
A through F. Motion second. Any comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Do I have a motion for G? Second. Do I have a motion? I have a motion second. Any comment?
Yeah, I didn't vote for this position when we brought it up several months ago, and I'm not against the individual that's on here. I believe in physical fitness and conditioning, all that stuff. I'm a very strong believer in that, but I don't think the taxpayer should pay for strength and conditioning coaches that are primarily for athletes. We always talk about tight budgets and trying to control costs, and I think this is just something that's not something taxpayers should bear.
I would tend to agree with you, Mr. Dennert, except for the fact that this individual will be working with our PE classes during the day.
I'd also want to make clear, it's not, the expansion is not just dedicated to athletes. I know even a lot of the band, which we just talked about, is looking forward to and be able to go in and utilize the cardio equipment and different equipment as well, because the routines that they're doing are becoming more and more I don't know if it's strenuous, but more and more conditioning would be required for them, the level of performance that they're bringing it to. So I have a motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Finance, A through F.
Second.
Motion second, any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Property, A.
Second.
Motion second, any comment? All in favor, say aye. Conferences and workshops, A through J. Motion second. Any comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Other business, A through B. Motion second. Any comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any board comment?
I have a comment. I wanted to thank everybody that made it onto the trailer for the homecoming parade. If I haven't thanked you individually, I'm really glad we did that. We had a good time. It was good school spirit. And so our next little board plus event will be the fundraiser for the my office, which is Coldwell Banker Hearthside, creating a scholarship fund for a Spring-Ford student in one of the trades. So I hope that all the board and any members of the public are welcome to come. It's going to be in my barn on Friday, November 8th from 7 to 10. And I'll just let you all know that we have a little bit of a change in venue because typically for this event, we've hired a pretty well-known DJ in the area. And we were offered today a band to come in. They are 4 Spring-Ford graduates. They heard about this opportunity, and they've offered to come in and do it for free so that we can then take that money and also add that to the scholarship fund that we would have spent on entertainment. So I hope to see everybody on Friday, November 8th at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Any other board comment? Public to be heard. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.